Well, good morning, everybody. It's Barb Katie again, and I'm so glad to be with you. I had company for a few days this week, and we had a wonderful, wonderful time. She is a grill master, and we truly had fun choosing meals that were a little bit different for me and innovative and creative and absolutely delicious. And since that's what we're discussing for the next few weeks, I thought I'd just hone in a little bit on the fact that eating should be enjoyed. And eating healthy can be enjoyable. One of the best ways to ensure that you're going to enjoy the experience is to socialize while you're doing it, to have people share your meals with you. That always adds an extra dimension of pleasure to the process. And with that in mind, I think that we really, really need to spend some time discussing with each other exactly how we can get to actually enjoying the foods that we eat. It's very, very important to remember that eating is not a bad thing. In fact, it should be pleasurable. It should bring us satisfaction and happiness in what we're doing. The whole experience should delight us and make us smile when we think about it. Uh, if when you say, I'm going to develop a new way of eating to become healthier and you're not happy and excited about it, maybe you need to really look at the plan that you're contemplating and reevaluate what you're trying to do. Because if you're not happy with the plan that you're choosing, I can pretty much guarantee you, if you're like me, you aren't going to stick with it very long. You're going to say, no, I do not like this. I do not enjoy this. This is a punishment. And eating should never be a punishment for us. It should be something that happily sends us on a road to the healthiest person we can be. And one of the things you can do to sort of ensure that is to start with your personal preferences. Exposure to different types of food is important early in life to help children develop a willingness to eat and enjoy a variety of foods. You're really ahead of the game if you grew up in that type of an environment. I know for me, one of the things my mom always ensured that we kids had the opportunity to do was experience a lot of different fruits and vegetables. Um, I don't know how mom did it, but we tried, I think, almost every fruit and vegetable known to mankind. Some we really, really loved, and some not so much. But at least we had the opportunity to taste the food and see if it was something we wanted to continue eating. So, what I suggest to you is whatever plan that you're given usually has a list of foods that are considered healthy, which you should try to target eating. Go through that list of foods because it's going to be your personal list, your personal plan. Obviously, if you have a family, you're going to include their personal preferences as well. And mark out the things you really dislike that do not taste good to you, that don't bring you pleasure in each of the food groups from which you will be choosing, depending on what dietary plan you and your doctor have discussed and feel is most appropriate for you. Uh, one of the things again is to always try to pick the most nutrient dense foods. My bottom line usually is start with what's whole and fresh and go from there. Um, that gives me some guidance, because once things begin to be prepared for storage and packaging, they do change somewhat, and some of the nutrient value is no longer as readily available as it was in its original state. Uh, After you look at your personal preferences, then if you're, again, like my family, you probably have some cultural traditions on to which you fall from time to time. And they can really significantly influence the type of food that you choose. Um, Specific cultures and traditions tend to have specific ways of seasoning their food, specific foods that they prefer over other foods. Spices and herbs can really help flavor foods when we are reducing the added sugars that are sometimes put in there, as well as the saturated fat and the sodium. They can also add to the enjoyment of the very foods that you're eating. Kick it up a notch with some spices. As Emerald Lagasse used to say, bam, 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 add some spice to your food that is appropriate for your culture. I happen to be a garlic lover. And so if I'm cooking a lot of savory dishes, I tend to add garlic to them. I just really, really enjoy that flavor. And I'm sure you have particular spices that you enjoy as well. Ginger is another spice that I really, truly enjoy. And I find that ginger in chicken soup really ups the flavor profile in a way that many people have never experienced. I was introduced to that by a friend of mine who had made a Chinese dish one evening for dinner and had added a good bit of ginger. And we got to talking, and when I came home, I tried it in chicken soup, and wow, what a difference. So cultural traditions, if you share ideas, not just from your culture, but from those of other people, can really make the food exciting and interesting for you. And the next consideration I think that all of us need to have is, what's your budget? You know, I think a lot of us operate on a shoestring. It seems like food's gone up a good bit here lately. And so we've had to adapt to keep within our food budget. And one of the things that you might want to check into is the USDA food plans. They actually have thrifty, low cost, moderate cost, and pretty high cost food plans that you can look at. And if you need to watch your pennies, as most of us do, you might be interested in seeing how they still are able to do nutritious, healthy meals that are thrifty and low cost. And, occasionally you can treat yourself to a splurge, but for the most part, these are ways to keep within whatever your financial budget happens to be. Uh, it's really good to customize your eating again with foods in each of the groups that you prefer. And what do we mean when we say uh, within the groups? Well, there's one broad category that I think right now most everybody is really enjoying, and that happens to be vegetables as they are coming into season. Sometimes they come into season a little more abundantly than we would like them to, but enjoy them while you can, because they won't be in season nearly as long, and price tends to go up when they're no longer in season. Some of the things within the veggie group that you need to consider on a daily basis to eat healthy are the dark green vegetables. Uh, yes, you can eat frozen if fresh isn't readily available. The dark green leafies like spinach is always a popular one. Many different kinds of greens, broccoli, cooked or raw, um, bok choy, chard, kale, uh, just romaine lettuce, spinach, turnip greens, watercress, dark green leafies. Red and orange vegetables are also another thing that you should try to include in your food plan regularly. And again, these can be fresh or frozen. Can just make sure that you're not getting a lot of added salt in there or other additives that you may not even be aware of. Um, Red and orange vegetables include things like bell peppers, sweet potatoes, tomatoes. Yes, tomatoes actually are also considered as a fruit, and winter squash. Uh, then you can look at other vegetables like beans, peas, and lentils. Those of us who occasionally or all the time eat more vegetarian meals, these are a great source for protein from vegetables. Things like peas, chickpeas, lentils, black beans, um, pinto beans, split peas, uh, even green beans, and of course peas. Uh, well, probably not green beans, or the green peas that are in the shells. Uh, those no, but the other more starchy beans, lentils, etc., will go into that group. And then you add into that all the starchy vegetables as well. Again, I think we know these things like corn, a lot of the root vegetables, lima beans, plantains, potatoes of different kinds, water chestnuts, yams, and even yuccas, of which I had never eaten until just a couple years ago, and was really surprised at how interesting they were, and how flavorful. And then you go into some other vegetables that aren't as common, but still are wonderful and delicious. Things like asparagus, avocado, bamboo shoots, beets, Brussels sprouts, cabbages of all kinds, cauliflower, celery, cucumbers, eggplant, uh, even kohlrabi, which is a really weird looking vegetable, but quite nice, mushrooms, okra, radishes, rutabagas, seaweed. If you happen to be a sushi fan, I'm sure you've experienced seaweed, snow peas, the summer squashes, zucchinis, uh, turnips, just my goodness, there are just so many to choose from. Uh, and you do end up, when you begin looking at all the veggie choices, seeing how easy it is to eat the rainbow. And then if you add fruits in there, uh, the rainbow just explodes with color and flavor. Fresh apples, pears, bananas, all kinds of wonderful berries, uh, citrus fruits of all kinds, things like dates, figs, grapes. Uh, I tried lychees for the first time about 6 months ago. For some reason, they had just never come across my plate before, and those were quite interesting. And then you've got all the melons to choose from, nectarines, peaches, papayas, persimmons, which is one that we eat here in my home state. Just be sure that it's ripe, otherwise you will pucker up. Uh, Pineapples, plums, pomegranates, raisins, just so many wonderful, colorful choices that you may not have even tried. One of the things that I love to do with my grandkids when they were growing up was to try to get unusual foods for them to try. Things that probably on a budget I would not have very often, but occasionally as a special treat for something new to try, I would experiment with some of the more unusual fruits and vegetables that when they were in season, particularly. And then you look on into what it means to eat balanced and healthy, and you add all the grains. Whole grains are wonderful uh, because they have that kernel, that germ in there, uh, where most of the nutrients are packed. Things like brown rice, bulgur wheat, oats of all kinds, quinoa. Um, Dark rye bread, whole grain cornmeal, whole wheat bread, and all of the whole grain cereals and crackers uh, also play a role in making sure that we eat healthy. Refined grains also have a place in moderation, but in moderation. Um, Hopefully, if you're going to be eating primarily refined grains, you're going to make sure that they are also vitamin enriched, which is very important to make sure that you're meeting your nutritional needs. Then you go to that category of foods. And if you're using real life, this is not new to you. This is something you already know. If you're eating particularly the DASH diet or the Mediterranean food plan, this is not news to you either. Uh, it's stuff that you have already been exposed to as you've been building a way of eating that is as healthy as it possibly can be for you based on your health. And uh, many of us have food allergies that necessitate different types of choices or health conditions that need to have choices modified because of those. But then you have the dairy group that you can consider. Dairy foods like buttermilk, which I grew up loving, uh, all of the whole milk products, yogurt, kefir, even frozen yogurt. You watch the sugar content, of course, and uh, some cheeses also. Uh, Choices hopefully will be uh, lower fat. And they do include things like cream, sour cream, cream cheese, cottage cheese. These foods also fall over into uh, higher protein choices, as do some of the grains that we eat, especially the whole grains that have not been stripped. Uh, so again, making good choices given what your nutritional needs is critical for you. And but even more so with the wide variety of food choices that we have in this country, it is so wonderful to be able to choose very high nutritionally valuable foods as we move along in what we're trying to accomplish here. I cannot tell you how strongly I believe in eating well and eating food that you truly enjoy as you move through making changes for your best health. Uh, the meat protein foods, I think most of us know you have meat, poultry, eggs, seafood, fish of all kinds. Again, um, just be aware some of these choices are higher in fat than others. And if that's an issue for you, you definitely need to plan accordingly. I am a particular fan of the chicken thigh when I'm doing a lot of cooking. I love to roast chicken thighs. I just find them to be truly a versatile meat. Are they a little bit higher in fat content than chicken breast? Yes, they are. Are you willing to exchange the little higher fat content there with perhaps not having as much other fat in your diet? We're not going to have a whole bunch of fat just simply because it is so calorie dense. But there is a place and a need for a certain amount of fat in our food plans, unless our health for some reason indicates otherwise. And, experiment if you have not been a seafood eater or a fish eater. Um, you might find actually uh, that you enjoy the taste of fish. Um, I think most of us are very familiar with chicken and turkey, but have you ever tried duck or any of the other game birds? Cornish hens are sort of fun. What about emu? That of course that's pricey, but if you're wanting to experiment sometime, it's interesting. How about ahi tuna? Again, just a wrap. We are so blessed in the United States to have so many choices that we can work into whatever our budget is and experiment. And then there are all the nuts and the seeds and the soy products, which also are good sources for protein. And especially, if you're doing a salad and you want to do some combining of proteins to make sure that you get those 8 essential amino acids in there, that's a great place uh, to add nuts and seeds and some whole grains. Uh, it'll make the salad taste quite different than it might be what you're used to, but you might find that you really enjoy it, and it still is a way of reducing some calories. I'm a big fan of chia seeds. I really do enjoy those, and also flax. So, experiment, have a little bit of fun with what you're doing, and eat uh, very, very simply. I think that when we look at all of our food choices, once we get that list from our healthcare professionals to guide us, and we say, okay, we've got all these foods. Which ones do I really, really like? Or which ones would I like to give a try that I've not been experimenting with previously? Great opportunity for you to plan an interesting menu filled with your favorite foods. How nice would it be to be able to sit down and look at your plate every single meal and say, I love every single item on this plate and I intend to enjoy and savor every mouthful I'm taking. Wouldn't that set you up to be in a good mood to continue your journey if you just ate foods that bring you pleasure? Um, Everything that brings me pleasure when we're talking about food is not sugary. I love so many different varieties of food. And I think you do too, if you really think about it. I'll listen sometimes to people say, oh, I hate all vegetables. I hate all fruit. I hate. Well, probably if you really sit down and look at the list, there's some things in there that you really like. Uh, that it isn't an all or none sort of thing. The same way with choosing the oils in moderation. Um, to meet your nutritional needs. Vegetable oils are a good choice for most of us. And I think most of us sort of know that there are certain fats that are usually processed fats that we need to steer away from. Trans fatty acids that happen when some fats get processed to simulate butter. Uh, there is evidence to indicate that isn't always the healthiest thing you can possibly do. Uh, and the amount of fat that needs to be in the diet on a regular basis is overall quite small. We can do certain things to help ourselves out when it comes to that area. Uh, we just have to be a little creative and a little thoughtful and a little aware. Do you really need to soak that corn on the cob in a pool of melted butter? Does it really taste that much better? Uh, Up to you to decide if that's what you're willing to spend a huge hunk of your daily caloric intake on. And what is it going to do to you from a nutritional standpoint? Um, One of the best things is you can custom tailor with your doctor's help a way of eating that suits you. Life does not have to be all or nothing in any category. There's always room for balance, for adjustment, for moderation, with the goal in mind that you want to build for yourself a journey that you will happily travel the rest of your life. So that's my challenge this week. If you have been given some guidance from your doctor concerning foods that he thinks might be helpful to your overall general health and things that you might want to avoid because of health concerns, go through the food list he's provided for you and pick out the things you really enjoy, the things that you like to see on your plate. Uh, Eat well, eat happily, eat and enjoy the pleasure and satisfaction it brings to you within the guidelines that you are using to go on your journey of good health. I know we can do this. I know that sitting down to a meal can be and should be a pleasure for all of us. So this week, every time you have the opportunity to sit down and enjoy a meal, do that exactly. Enjoy it with a smile on your face and no guilt. I will talk to you later. Bye for now.